Good afternoon and welcome back to another ironic introduction to another video. Today I am doing a guide for variant 3.2.1 and for those of you who are looking for the easiest path, personally I feel it's path 2 in this guide, but as always there will be timestamps in the description for all 4 paths here. And arguably this path 1 could be considered an easy path. It's just that path 2 is significantly less fights. So if you're just going for that initial clear, that's probably where I'd go. And there will be a separate timestamp for the Wolverine boss as well. So that said, let me dive in first with this path 1. So path 1 is Fisticuffs Aggressives. So Fisticuff means for the first 30 seconds of the fight, there are no buffs or debuffs on either champion. And aggressive just means that the AI is going to be doing a lot more heavies and a lot more dashes in, which is really relevant because this first fight is Gladiator Hulk. Now Gladiator Hulk has a small percentage chance to smash, which means that if you're trying to like intercept this guy, his medium dash attack might be unstoppable, and that could cause you to get like comboed into oblivion. So unless you're using like Ghost or something here for like the first 30 seconds, you're not going to be able to do the normal like parry combo style that you would usually use against Gladiator Hulk. So what I would suggest is when the fight starts, you're going to want to like force block to get a heavy out of him, and then you're going to want to do like a full combo and then try to get another force block to bait another heavy, punish that so he has a special 1, and then bait the special 1 and punish it accordingly, and you're kind of going to rotate with this strategy until Fisticuffs is gone and you're able to get back into the parry game, because really that's the way you want to play against Gulk. It is the first fight on the path though, so if you want to play aggressive and just go for the intercepts and see if you can just take him down on a free fight, and just rinse the path over and over again, that is reasonably doable. Just bear in mind that it's like 5 nodes just to get up there, so you're using like 15 energy just to get to the Gulk. So I feel like that was unnecessarily expensive as far as the first fight goes. Next up, you have Sentinel here. Once you can effectively dex his special 2 and his special 1, both of those are very easy to punish these days, and it's a fairly free fight after that, even with the Fisticuffs. Nothing too serious. Next up is Daredevil. For the most part, this is a free fight as long as you remember that he's like a 15% chance to evade any projectile, and that applies mostly for like a lot of people who use Sentinel or Stark Enhanced in this fight. Stark Enhanced Spider-Man, his special 2 has projectiles at the end of it. Sentinels, both of his specials are considered projectiles. So as long as you're like aware that if throwing those specials could cause him to evade and punish you as a result, and you're playing around that either by throwing more special 3s or special 1s on Stark Enhanced, for example, it's overall a good time. This is an Iron Fist. This is a free fight. Captain Marvel. This is a free fight. Thor. This is a free fight. And then finally we have She-Hulk, which you guessed it, this is a free fight. And when I say free fight, I just mean that both their special 1 and special 2 are easy to dodge and fairly punishable, and overall you don't have to worry too much about any kind of like special mechanics as long as you're not getting hit by either of those champions. So that's why I said path 1 this would be like arguably an easy path. It's just that it's got like 2 more fights than what I deem to be the easiest path in here, but go in here educated and make that decision yourself. So that said, path 2 is an enhanced bleed and debilitate. So essentially, if they bleed you, it's going to last twice as long and it's going to do a lot more damage. So again, as long as you're not getting hit, you are in for a special good time. Venom is the first fight, so as long as you're baiting his special 1, he's really easy to play around. The special 2, you can get clipped a lot of times if you're not like very good at dodging it. So personally, I suggest baiting the special 1. You're going to have a better time that way. This gold pool, if you punish his special 2, he will actually trigger a power gain. So essentially, he does a moonwalk, and you want to wait until just right before the moonwalk ends to like dash in and punish it. That way, he's not power gaining like all the way back up to a special 2 right away, and you're stuck in this like vicious cycle. But otherwise, this is a fairly easy fight as long as you remember that at the end of the fight, he's going to have a big heal. So if you're using Sentinel, for example, it would be ideal to have like a heal block applied at the end of the fight. or any other champion who applies a heal block like Mysterio could really make that fight easier. But even then, you know, the big heal is not too big of a deal as long as, you know, he heals back up and you kill him from there. Next up, we have Namor. Namor can be kind of frustrating if you get like hit by a special 3 right when he's triggering Imperious Rex. The way you want to play around this is when he's hitting like 28, 29, ideally 29, but 28 is okay. You want to get like a good parry in, wait out the parry timer as long as possible, and then use a slow combo to kind of draw out the timer for when he's going to like naturally go into 30 outrage charges, trigger Imperious Rex, so that you are comboing into him while Imperious Rex triggers, giving enough time for his like special bar to naturally drain, and then he's probably going to throw a special 2 almost immediately. So as long as you're prepared to like dodge backwards, you're not going to get hit by that, and then you don't have to worry about a special 3 from there. Alternative, you could just be like hyper passive and make sure you bait a lot of specials super early, but Stark, Enhanced, Ghost, these champions handle this fight no problem. Next up, you have Blade. Blade, personally, I suggest baiting the special 1 so you don't take a lot of block damage, but as long as you are expecting like faster debuff shrugging from him, this fight's not too bad, because you know, for the most part, he's an easy fight as long as you're baiting that special 1. If you're baiting the special 2, you're just going to take a lot of block damage and chip damage, so do avoid that if you can. X23 is a free fight, and that's the whole path. So I'd say really, you got like 3 tricky fights in here for sure, but each one, the mechanics aren't too bad, and so it's overall an easy path. Path 3 is probably one of the hardest paths in this quest in particular. This is Chaos Power Gain. And the rough part about Chaos is sometimes you just get like a really bad draw and the opponent starts the fight unstoppable. You know, there's not too much you can do about that besides play super defensive and try to like time out that unstoppable. The way I play against Chaos personally is I always like save my specials to throw them in case the opponent triggers unstoppable. But on the same vein, sometimes you get really lucky and like the opponent gets power locked from the Chaos node, and then it's just a free fight from there. But you're going to want to bring like your standard power control champs in here. Ghost, Warlock, Stark Enhanced, Doc Ock. These champions can do fairly well, and then you don't have to worry about like any kind of frustrating passive power gain. So you know, you could also bring like non-power control champs in here and then just do a lot of special baiting as long as you are like mentally prepared for a lot of dexing. So Venom, for Venom pool, you're gonna want to know that the special 1 is like Venom's special 1, and the special 2 is like Deadpool's special 2, but both are physical and fairly easy to dodge. Venom the Duck is going to be a lot of an easier fight if you learn to dex the special 2 from him. It's fairly easy as long as you're like all the way back as far as you can. It's just like a double dex projectile, so nothing too tricky, but once you can do that and you're not like relying on baiting special 1s for him, that fight is a lot easier. Personally, I think Moon Knight is an easier fight when he has increased power gain, because you can push him to special 2s, bait the special 2s, and then punish. Again, just make sure you're watching out for like any potential unstoppable encounters that way. This Green Goblin is probably like the worst fight on this path in my opinion, just because like he is misleadingly tanky due to the amount of his healing, and like, you know, unless you have a Warlock or a Mysterio where like the heal block is like a passive trigger, you know, you might have some trouble applying heal blocks unless you're bringing like alternative champions, because a lot of times, again, you want to be careful throwing your own specials because that Chaos node. But you know, once you get through it, that fight's not too bad. Just don't be afraid to like take block damage from the special 1. The special 2 is much easier to dex if you're doing it via auditory instead of like what, you know, essentially I say dex with your ears and not with your eyes on the Green Goblin special 2, because there is like a sound animation for his hoverboard, and that's what the timing is reliant on, and the visual cues not as easy. This Deadpool Red, besides the big heal towards the end of the fight, this is a free fight for the most part. And finally, we land ourselves on path 4. So path 4, you know, is Enhanced Fury, Aggression Fury. So not too bad, again, as long as you're not getting hit, and as long as you're playing like relatively aggressive, you don't have to worry too much about like tons of block damage, but there will be good amounts of block damage here even through your parry. So first up, we have Phoenix, and at the end of the fight, you have the Rebirth, which will give her some pretty good healing, so you're essentially just gonna have to kill her twice. If you use like any kind of heal block, you can make this much easier, but for the most part, a free fight. After that is Dr. Voodoo. Dr. Voodoo, as long as you're baiting the special ones, you can punish all of his specials. The special 2 isn't really punishable. You can if you like get the perfect window there, but for the most part, I just advise baiting special 1 so that you can have a good time. Abomination here, you're going to want to just bring a poison immune. Other than that, it's a free fight. Crossbones, bait the special 1 because you can fully dex that just by dodging backwards, as well as punish it accordingly. After that, it's a free fight. Hulk, don't eat a special if you can. You know, again, that huge key of not getting hit. But if you take a special from Hulk, you will get stunned. It will be a bad time. So if you can just make sure you play really safe around those specials, that's really the way to win that fight. And then finally is the Sabretooth. And this is by far the worst fight in this whole quest, I think, besides the Wolverine, because he actually has Untamed Force, which is like a 1 in 5 chance for his first low kick medium attack to be unblockable. And what this means is that, you know, you can't really parry from like a long dash on him. So what I would suggest is if you're not using Ghost, essentially you want to start the fight with a force block, because he also has limited immunity, which means you can't just like immediately parry. So you start the fight, you force block, try to bait a heavy, punish the heavy, and then you want to do like a 4-hit combo on the punish, draft back, intercept, do another 4-hit combo, back off, bait a special 1, and then punish the special 1, do another backdraft, intercept, and kind of just rinse and repeat this method to get him down. Because as long as you're intercepting him, you don't have to worry about the unblockable, but you really don't want to be playing this fight built around parries. And then after that, everything should be reasonably okay. You are going to have to run into a little bit of trouble with the healing if you're not bringing a proper counter, but if you're either bringing like huge raw damage or a proper counter in the form of like heal block, Mysterio, Warlock, Sentinel, overall that fight's definitely doable, you know, but that's definitely where you're going to end up having to use a revive or 2 if you're not well practiced. So finally, we have the Wolverine. This Wolverine is definitely a bit of a challenge. So Bezerker Barrage is essentially when he's not under the effect of regeneration, he builds up passive Furies. So essentially, you know, he's either regenning or he's getting bigger damage. And you honestly want him to have the bigger damage because he's much easier to deal with in that regard. Because Vigorous Assault is while the defender has a regen buff, they gain additional attack and all their attacks become unblockable. So as long as he doesn't have a regeneration, you can parry him. But as soon as he has a regeneration, make sure you only play Intercept playstyle. The recovery node just means he's healing more, but again, the healing's not too bad. Not as bad as it is like in Realm of Legends. So you can get around this with just like some raw damage output, but then again, tech's got plenty of heal block in their arsenal. He also has enhanced abilities and aggressive, which is kind of passive things you don't have to worry about. But finally is the mighty charge. So every time he does a medium dash attack, he goes immune to any kind of debuffs, which is just frustrating if you're like applying heal blocks that aren't passive, because like Mysterio and Warlocks, their heal blocks are passive, so they won't be shrugged from the mighty charge. But like Sentinel's heal block or the Incinerate or the Armor Break, all of these will be shrugged every time he dashes in. And the way you're going to want to play around this is you want to keep close. You want to be hammering into him and relying on him throwing his special 1 and then punishing the special 1, and then again staying really close to him the entire time so that he never does a like long range medium dash attack. And then from there you can really hammer into this guy and not worry about him shrugging the debuffs. Or you just want to bring a champion who's non-reliant on debuffs in order to handle this fight. You know, Ghost, Star-Lord are great options for this fight overall. So that said, this is variant 3.2.1, and I will see you all later.